In the name of God, who creates us, redeemed us, and inspires us.
Amen.
Well, it is certainly a good thing God doesn't still speak to people in dreams. Just imagine what could happen if destabilizing tribes of angelic agitators visited people and guided their actions. I mean, that sort of foolishness could seriously disrupt a community. I mean, we have an orderly society to run here, and rules are rules. You think we have rules. The society that Joseph lived in was much more structured. People knew their place and what was expected of them, required of them, in almost every circumstance. So by rights, Joseph really shouldn't have had much of a decision to make. There was a clearly prescribed response to his situation. But for some reason, he didn't choose that path. So what was it about Joseph? In today's gospel, we learn that Joseph is a righteous man, which means he was an observant Jew. And we hear that story mainly because it describes a situation that would resonate with Matthew's audience. It was an observant Jewish congregation in a large ancient Near Eastern city, which was probably Antioch in modern-day Turkey, that was struggling to determine if this Jesus sect was really Jewish enough. Could these people believe Jesus was the Messiah without completely straying off the reservation? And Matthew, the rabbi, thought so. So once Matthew establishes Joseph's orthodox bona fides, he then describes the most unorthodox of circumstances. An observant Jew who decided to be a mensch, and rather than either stoning her to death or disgracing her publicly, to quietly put away his young fiancé, who had come up with this totally mashugana dog-ate-my-homework story about how she happened to become pregnant. So Joseph settles on the via media. Presbyterian, we would say he was going to do things decently and in order. And he must have gone to bed that night pretty darn satisfied with his high-minded solution to this thorny issue. So while Joseph is sleeping, let's us talk. Now, we know that the Blessed Virgin Mary gets most of the ink and airtime this season. Poor Joseph is almost always a bit player. It's that piece of the nativity scene that I keep mixing up with the shepherds. We in this congregation have been privileged over the years to hear from Deacon Joan Maynard about Marys I have known. In today's gospel, Matthew invites us to consider a corollary, which is Joseph's weekend bee. Joan's Marys reacted with grace to bewildering challenges. They were women who had the serenity to say yes to an angel's announcement. Today, we may dream about both being a Mary who said heaven's yes, and about being a Joseph who, prompted by an angel's suggestion, has the courage to say, hell no. No, I won't do the expected thing and disgrace this young woman. I won't worry about my ego or social connections, rather than supporting someone who, embarrassing as this may be to me, and much as it may cut into my carpentry business, seems to be acting courageously on faith and principle. No, our guy Joseph goes to sleep satisfied with his compromise, and he wakes up a rebel. I'll keep her, he probably astonished himself by saying. I'll raise the child, I'll take the risk. I'll listen to the angel and not to the neighbors. So what happened to Joseph? Was that dream just an undigested bit of beef as Ebenezer Scrooge tried to explain away his nocturnal visit from the angel, from the ghost of Christmas future? Was this Joseph some kind of a religious nut who lets the voice of God guide his decisions about what to do with his life? The difference was that Joseph did more than just hear the word of God. "Martha, did you hear me?" my mother would ask. "Yes'm," said the good Southern girl. And Mama would respond, "Well, if you heard, then heed." Now, it's unsettling enough to hear angels. What if God really expected us to heed, to act, to make those dreams become actions, to realize that the hand of God is on the end of our own arm? I vividly remember a time when, like King Ahaz, I wussed out of heeding. It was the mid-50s, and I had been allowed to take the bus downtown with an older boy. So I was almost by myself. We were going to go see a movie. Jimmy McDowell was 4 years older, and he was sent along, I now realize, to babysit. But I was feeling quite mature and worldly. I had worn my new straight skirt. And as we boarded the bus on the way home, I passed without much notice past the colored people moved to the back of the bus sign that was a fixture in my segregated southern city. For some reason, I walked past several empty seats near the front and deliberately sat beside an African-American lady who was laden with the carrying bags she had brought home from her job. Now, the intake of breath sucked the air right out of that bus. If we had been on a plane, the oxygen masks would have deployed. That driver turned around to stone me, but Jimmy McDowell beat him to it. He came up to me and hissed, "You can't sit there." I'll tell. Now, I'd love to report that I defied Jimmy and the driver and public censure, and that my precociously courageous stand anticipated Rosa Parks by years and ushered in the civil rights era right there in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. But I chickened out. I meekly followed Jimmy back to the front of the bus and examined my shoes for the rest of the trip home. I certainly didn't look back at my former seatmate, and I can only imagine what she must have been thinking. And I may even, to my shame, have tried to pretend that I didn't really know what I had been doing when I sat beside her. But I knew, in whatever way a 10-year-old knows these things, that I hadn't done God's will that day. And within a week, I dreamed that I had stayed seated right there and chatted with the lady beside me, and no one noticed. All was well. I have never forgotten either my failure to heed God's word that day, or that dream that gave me another chance. Later, when I faced similar small choices, I sometimes chose better. I formed my values and defended them. I went out on more limbs and ignored more signs of the times. I tried to follow Mother Jones' injunction to pray for the dead and fight like hell for the living. And I won't lie to you, I have not been universally acclaimed and rewarded for that approach. Now, we're not all called to be Joseph or even to be Rosa Parks, but we're all called to dream, to hear, to heed, and then to act. Acting on the decisions that allow Jesus to come into our world is an enterprise not often preceded or followed by warm, fuzzy feelings of blessed assurance. Nor was it likely so for Joseph. After that radical action Matthew describes, Joseph, to say nothing of Mary, might not have spent a great deal of time eating lunch with the popular kids. But angel-inspired actions are done every day in small ways, even when doing them may be embarrassing or inconvenient or downright dangerous. Dream angels sometimes have us seek the grace to say yes, like, yes, I'll call that person I haven't spoken to in the years since the argument. Listening patiently to an annoying relative. Courageously facing a life-threatening illness or helping someone else do so. Other times, sometimes we wake up in a sweat and must find the gumption to say no. No, bullying stops with me. Running up my debt is over. My couch potato lifestyle is finito. And just because I am a privileged, white, straight Christian who has the means to support herself does not mean that racism, homophobia, Islamophobia, and human trafficking are not my problem. But really, messages from angels in dreams, how do we know that this is not just superstition, not just an undigested bit of beef? Well, one of the curses of the age of electronic omniscience is the erroneous assumption that knowledge and faith cannot coexist. Sigmund Freud's The Interpretation of Dreams did not render angelic visitors extinct, any more than the theory of evolution disputes the awesome creative power of God, or Gregor Mendel's description of genetics destroys the mystery of incarnation. This is a season of watchful waiting when we celebrate the continuing evolution of word and dream into flesh and action. God's messenger, Matthew, persuaded those Christians in Antioch to believe in dreams and nurture the faith. Those few people worshiping together in a house over the millennia became millions who turned the known world upside down and saved a place for us here today. If only this sort of thing would still happen. Prophecies could be fulfilled. Societies could be healed. Someone could have a dream that one day a person could be judged not by the color of his skin, but by the content of his character. If God still spoke to people in dreams. The new kid at school could dream of being treated with respect and dignity. If God spoke to just one kid who invited them to sit at their table at lunch, speak up to a bully, spend time with one lonely person the world chooses to ignore. If God still spoke to people in dreams. You know, I suspect God speaks to us today much the same way God has always spoken. We just go through our little phases of identifying the nature of that communication. God may speak in comfortable words or in hard sayings. God may whisper in our ear or knock us over the head with a ball-peen hammer. God may deploy angelic visitations or the most annoying person at our work, or even a light that surprises us when we sing. Emmanuel, God with us. Continuing to speak, to reassure, to goad, to inspire, to dust us off and send us back into the game, to send messengers. Now that angel band that's worked the night shift for millennia were probably not outsourced to Hallmark within the last few decades. The word still comes to us in more forms than we can recognize or describe, including wake-up calls from angels in dreams.